pleasure of introducing our speaker today, and it's Ken Wade. He's with the Army Corps of Engineers, and he is an outreach specialist, is what we were talking about earlier. And I learned a little bit more about what his background is. So he has a Bachelor of Science from Missouri State in Agronomy. And I learned that that's about soils and all that, and how soils have to be a certain situation for it to grow vegetation. So very interesting background. And with that, I'd like to welcome Ken to the podium.
Well, I'd like to thank everyone for allowing us to come speak to you. I do have Eric Lynn, who is my supervisor, and appraisal time is going to be coming up. So if you ever have time to come by and say to Eric, how good this presentation was, that would be appreciated. Eric is the chief in our planning branch, and he's the chief of communications and review. I know we are limited on time. I'm sure I will have you out here by 1 o'clock. I do have some questionnaires on the back table. As you see, we're going to have a little video, and then I'm going to come back up and we're going to discuss what my job and title is as an outreach specialist and how we reach out to our stakeholders. But the questionnaires back there, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, feel free to write them down. You could just put a stamp on there, put a piece of paper on it, drop it in the mailbox, and it'll get to us, and then we will review those and try to get you an answer back. Might not be the answer you want to hear, but we will try to get you an answer back. What we're going to do is I'm going to show you a 13-minute video on the Corps of Engineers. A lot of folks might not know what the Corps of Engineers relates to, but we're going to show that video, and then I'll come back up and explain a little bit about my job as outreach specialist, and then Eric is going to come up and talk about maybe some projects around Kansas City, and then we'll both be here for a few questions. And with that, our presentation will begin.
Building a strong nation. It's a big job. Yet it's the job the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers has been given. As the world's largest public engineering, design, and construction management organization, the Corps is charged with building a strong infrastructure, building a strong defense, building superior facilities, and building a better quality of life. The U.S. Army Corps does whatever is needed, whenever it's needed, wherever it's needed.
We handle some of the largest projects the nation has. Congress tapped us as the nation's engineer many years ago. We get to touch some very challenging but very rewarding projects, whether it's in the States or in contingency environments around the world.
We can take a project from initiation all the way through closeout and do the design, the construction management, and even do the operation and maintenance of that project.
Kansas City District is focused on 3 major areas: civil works, military construction, environmental, and then as required to respond to emergency situations within our geographical area.
On May 22nd, 2011, an F5 category tornado obliterated a 6-mile swath through the cities of Joplin and Duquesne, Missouri, and the Army Corps of Engineers Kansas City District was called upon to execute one of the largest recovery missions ever experienced in the Midwest. Within 1 week, the district had a recovery field office up and running, and an expedited debris removal operation underway. Within 90 days, 1.7 million cubic yards of debris had been removed, enough to fill an entire football field as high as the Eiffel Tower. The Corps completed the infrastructure for 346 temporary housing units ahead of schedule. The no excuses mentality pushed the district to meet all nearly impossible deadlines, including the mission to prepare 8 temporary schools to begin on time in the fall.
Our success to start on time is a major step in the healing process for our community.
Army Corps is my hero, and now I know how crucial a role that you play in helping us get back to our new goal.
As the Kansas City District mobilized for the Joplin disaster, they were notified of a major flood event on the Missouri River, and the district was faced with 2 epic events at the same time.
We bring, frankly, military mindset of mobilizing quickly, getting the right resources set, and then getting on the ground very quickly to assist those that have been affected by a particular disaster.
Through geographical information system technology, the district created inundation maps to determine where flooding was most likely to occur, saving lives and preventing more damage than ever before. Communities were provided flood fighting equipment and supplies.
We actually got sandbags out to flooding districts before the flood event was here so that they could actually get structures up to help protect their facilities.
When I think about the staff of the Kansas City District, what I think about is a team that will complete the mission for the customer. What they did to help the communities along the Missouri River, as well as the community in Joplin, to get through those disasters, is remarkable in my view.
In 1907, the Kansas City District was established to manage the Missouri River and to make it a navigable channel, allowing the economical transport of goods and services. Today, the Corps' Bank Stabilization and Navigation Project is responsible for protecting billions of dollars in infrastructure along the Missouri River.
This project is a giant value to the nation. It provides stability, and that stability allows water to be used for public water supplies, it allows it to be used for navigation. All of those things wouldn't be possible without the Missouri River being stable and productive the way it is today.
The district is also legally mandated to execute the Missouri River Recovery Program, created to protect endangered species, restore the natural ecosystem, and to restore fish and wildlife habitat damaged by past navigation channel and reservoir operations.
I think what's important to note on the Corps is we do what Congress has told us we have the authority to do and given us the money to execute. Our job at the district level is to execute. Some of those projects can take years to accomplish, but the benefit to cost ratio for the public is very great. For instance, flood damage reduction projects near major cities like Kansas City. They've saved billions of dollars worth of damage over the years.
For decades, repeated flooding of the Turkey Creek and Blue River channels in Kansas City wreaked havoc until the Army Corps engineered solutions that not only met, but exceeded expectations.
Where I'm standing, I'd be underwater right now during a 1% storm event if this project is not completed. The savings is hundreds of millions of dollars from flood damage as a result of flooding on Turkey Creek.
We've been flooded here 13 times over the years. I thank the Corps for their construction, hiring good people. The Corps want to get these projects done and get them done on time. They truly are good partners, passionate partners.
The Corps' passion for innovative engineering design again extended to the Blue River Channel as the city of Kansas City turned to the district to remedy a less appealing flood control option.
This project originally had a grid control structure that was about 60 foot tall, 100 feet wide. So we challenged the Corps of Engineers to find something better. They did come up with a much better solution, much more environmentally friendly, saved more than $20 million, saved thousands of trees. The Corps of Engineers were able to lower that floodplain 6 to 8 feet throughout the area. It was a win-win solution all the way around and saved money, so it was an excellent experience.
KCMO, beneficiary of them, they can deliver to the people of this area a valuable project that actually protects people, and they get something for their tax dollars.
Inland navigation, bank stabilization, and flood damage reduction are all examples of the direct link between a strong infrastructure and a strong economy. Hydroelectric power is another. 2 of the 18 lakes and dams managed by the district, Truman and Stockton, produce and provide hydropower, one of the cleanest and least expensive renewable energy sources available. Power generated is sold to rural electric companies and municipalities, which assist with affordable energy rates to rural customers. District oversight of lakes and dams also benefits the public when it comes to recreation. Core management of 382 recreation areas accommodate an estimated 16 million visitors annually. For over 30 years, the Kansas City District has been involved in environmental restoration, which has a direct impact on the health and welfare of people across the country.
We have a variety of environmental programs that we work here in the district to clean up some of the past and to prevent future problems. One of those programs is the formerly used defense sites program, or funds program, and we have responsibility for cleaning up old military sites. Then we do direct support to our Army installations under the installation restoration program. We also have environmental compliance programs where we assist with compliance needs or ongoing pollution prevention.
Under the formerly utilized Sites Remedial Action Program, the Kansas City District also provides support to other core districts.
I think Kansas City District is very specialized in the environmental remediation field since we were involved in it back in the 1980s onward. We've seen a lot and used all sorts of different technologies.
In 1980, the EPA was charged with executing the government's Superfund program, it to clean up the nation's uncontrolled hazardous waste sites. Kansas City District since has been instrumental in helping EPA Region 2 develop a national infrastructure for the cleanup of Superfund sites.
Kansas City District specifically has proven to be a great ally in being innovative and flexible in how they deliver services. They have a vast array of contracts already in place that we can access to do just about anything we need, and that's an invaluable service for us.
Construction plays a key role in Army Corps missions. In addition to civil works and environmental construction, the district is responsible for military construction.
We're responsible for construction of 5 military installations in our area of operation for the world's most powerful military.
We've been very much a part of helping the Air Force and the Army deal with their enduring bases from which conflicts are fought all around this world.
The base realignment and closure should prove to be a monumental challenge for the district. The largest military construction initiative since World War II, RAD's primary objective is to consolidate and construct world-class facilities for our nation's military.
It's an opportunity for the Army to improve the efficiency with which they train their soldiers. We've had a couple of years where our program approached $1 billion. Some of the larger ones, we actually have a hospital complex at Fort Riley. We've built facilities and upgraded facilities to support the 1st Infantry Division coming back from Germany and a new combat aviation brigade. We built a brand new headquarters facility at Fort Riley. We've completed construction at Fort Leonard Wood of our school and basic combat trainee complexes. Those consist of 5 barracks, a headquarters structure, and a dining facility. They're configured such that it's all self-contained, improving the ability to train and teach soldiers what they need to do.
Another one is the Lewis Park building, which is the Command and General Staff College at Fort Leonard. Sending senior majors, not only from the Army, but the Air Force, Marines, and other countries. That's a very important educational building that the Corps constructed.
The district employed some very innovative approaches, including standardization of facilities and early contractor involvement, which led to project completions in record time. Using leadership in energy and environmental design as a guideline, the Kansas City District incorporates rebuilding processes in every construction project.
Sustainable design is very, very important to the district as well as the Department of Defense in general. The Kansas City District is really on the leading edge of sustainability expertise within the Corps. The other thing that we've been working on is something called net zero. Net zero is a concept where we actually build buildings that produce as much energy as they consume.
The impact of craft is far-reaching. With state-of-the-art training facilities, military personnel are far better prepared to do their job, which is to defend the United States of America. In July of 2010, the Kansas City District formed a partnership with the Army Corps Afghanistan Engineer District, or AED, responsible for training, equipment, and housing Afghan security forces. The Kansas City District was called upon to design and construct housing and other facilities.
They have no facilities. They have nothing. They live in tents. They live in mud huts up until these facilities are provided.
With help from the Kansas City District, a reach-back model was devised that allowed the use of talent, technology, and other necessary resources in the United States to put design packages together that could go right to construction in Afghanistan. The larger impact is building a foundation for governance and greater stability.
It's a complex world out there, and whether we like it or not, it's trying to understand how we can support one another in a global approach.
In a complex world with complex requirements, there are few organizations as equipped to deal with those demands as the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. And there's no better example than the U.S. Army Corps Kansas City District Heartland Engineers.
It's that Midwest work ethic where we roll up our sleeves and we get the job done.
The Kansas City District is a very innovative district, forward-thinking, and very motivated to accomplish the mission. What separates us is delivering projects that are congressionally authorized and appropriated in the areas of military, civil works, and environmental. I would add, provides a unique value to the nation that no other entity does. We know what the nation has entrusted us to do. If we're making a positive impact on the daily lives of the American public, which we are on a day-to-day basis, we've done our job.
They say pictures will say 1,000 words, and the video really explains a lot on what the Corps of Engineers does. As a part of that, I said I was going to explain kind of my job in the planning branch, the communications as an outreach specialist. It's my job to go out to groups like this and let them know what the Corps of Engineers is all about. And I travel from Rulo, Nebraska to St. Louis relating to projects along the Missouri River. So I will be going out to our actual stakeholders that use the river, and that will be anything from construction companies that are building bridges across the river to the agriculture industry on barging grain and materials up and down the river, utility companies from power plants utilizing water, and cities along the way. Then I also go out and touch groups like this, the clubs, the special interest clubs all along the river, to build those relationships and to explain what the Corps of Engineers is all about. You know, when something happens, you want to have that communication and that relationship already in place. You want to know Kenny Wade's name or Kenneth Wade. You'll know my voice. And then when something happens where we do need to work together, or we get the ability to work together, we have those relationships already built and they're in place. My third section that I do is go out and talk to all the cities and the small towns and communities, from there again, Rulo, Nebraska to St. Louis. So I really have a fun, exciting job. I get to meet a lot of friends. I get to collect business cards, and they stack up. But we have had a lot of projects around the Kansas City area, and what I thought, and I'm watching my time, I thought I would let Eric explain a little bit. We've got about 10 minutes. Well, we have some questions. And if we do run out of time, I want to, you know, the sheets are back there. If you have a question, take one home. You might think one tonight after supper while you're sitting around or something. Write it out, send it to us. We'll look into it and get back with you. And at that, I'll turn it over to Eric.
Thank you again. It's our pleasure to be here and talk about what the Corps is and what we do. We are not just the guys who show up in red shirts when it floods, or the park rangers out when you go to the lake on the weekend. As you can see from the video, we have a lot going on. And that video is a few years old, so I just kind of wanted to maybe give you a little bit of an update on a couple of things that were mentioned there, and maybe a few other things here locally. You heard in the video both the Turkey Creek Channel, which has been responsible for Southwest Boulevard flooding, and the Blue River Channel projects were mentioned. The Blue River Channel project was a decades-long program that has actually been completed, and the Southwest Boulevard, Turkey Creek projects are nearly complete now to alleviate those issues. But there was a picture in there, it wasn't mentioned, but there was a picture in there of Brush Creek through the plaza. And that was a Corps of Engineers project, and actually it extends on downstream of the plaza all the way to the confluence of Brush Creek and the Blue River. So we were involved with the city of Kansas City, Missouri, all through that reach of the city in establishing a channel that was both looked good, we hope, and achieves the goal of the flood risk management purposes. We also have the Kansas and Missouri River. You may or may not know it, but there is a system of levees of over 60 miles on the two rivers here within the metro area, stretching from Parkville to Birmingham and all through the Kansas City, Kansas reach of the Kansas River. And those are levees that were constructed between the 1940s and the 1970s, and we are currently in the process of study, design, and construction to improve those aging systems of infrastructure. We've completed improvements in North Kansas City, out in the East Bottoms Industrial District area. We are currently in construction in some of the Fairfax Industrial area. If you're familiar with the Board of Public Utilities water and power plant that serves Kansas City, Kansas, it has a 12-foot high flood wall. And we're modifying that to ensure that it continues to be resilient and stable for the future. We have additional projects in the design phase for future construction through the Argentine, Armadale, and Central Industrial areas of Kansas City, Kansas, if you're familiar with those. These local projects, whether it's here in Kansas City or other communities along the river, we would not be able to do these without the partnerships with the local stakeholders. Here we work with Kansas City, Missouri, and Unified Government. We also work with the Kansas City Industrial Council that represents those industrial areas behind those rivers, or those levees. And we work with the Missouri and Associated Rivers Coalition, which is a group of interested entities and partners here that actually goes to DC and lobbies for core projects. We don't do it if Congress doesn't authorize it or appropriate funds for us to execute, and the local communities are the ones that have to go tell their congressional folks what they would like the Corps to do. We also have levee districts in the area that do the local maintenance and operation of those systems that I mentioned. So there's a lot going on here locally, and I've just touched on flood risk, which is one of our major mission areas, but as you saw, we have a whole gamut of types of projects and missions. So Ken and I will stick around for questions. There's a chance to mail or email us questions about any of our programs, but I know you all have a busy day to get to, so I'll stop right there.
Great, thank you. We have time for a couple of quick Q&As, so go ahead, Ken. Who's got the mic right here? Jan? And Christy, you have one later? So Jan and then Christy.
I understand there's been some change in the philosophy of the levees and allowing in certain areas for the natural floodplains to be used during a time of flood to allow the water to go where it traditionally would. So how does that fit in? Is that part of your program and the use of the levees?
Yes, ma'am. Over the decades since we began doing these types of projects, and we began flood protection projects in the 1930s, the concept of flood control has evolved into the idea that the rivers are probably going to go where they want to, whenever they want to, and you're really not going to control it. So it's a philosophy now of risk management. What is the best way to use this area so that there's a beneficial purpose for the floodplains and areas along the river, but also we're not causing consequences and damages by how they're developed, what's built there. A lot of areas like Kansas City have built in those floodplains, and that is there. And so we have a mission to try to reduce the risk to that infrastructure, but in other areas, take a broader look at, or we encourage local communities to take a broader look at, is what you want to do with your floodplain really the best thing, considering the risks you may have of future damages and when there is a flood? I hope that kind of helps answer.
Christy.
Okay, I'm just curious because I sit on the board in the historic West Bottoms, which used to be the CIDA, and we're part of the KCIC. How have you been getting any instructions about our infrastructure as far as our levee goes? Because our levees are at a point where they're old enough that they're becoming weak and they really need to be replaced or reworked on for the historic West Bottoms to stay, you know, viable. And then it's a big industrial area.
It just so happens that about 2 years ago, we completed a study of that levee system and recommended a number of improvements. Structurally, foundation stability, and actually we raised it a little bit to bring it up to current standards of construction and make the operation and maintenance of it easier. As you kind of heard in the video, as a federal agency, we do what Congress authorizes and funds us to do. The recommendations of that project are included in the Water Resources Development Act legislation that was recently passed by both the House and the Senate. So those recommendations are moving forward, and we hope that someday we'll have an actual project to implement in your area to improve that system.
Well,
I can get into the details of what we recommended if you like, but that's the slow process of developing a project. We've made a number of recommendations to improve protection in the CID, or the Central Industrial District, and we're now waiting for it to go through a process that will then be authorized to go execute.
So the lobbying we've been doing going up to Washington is helping?
It is definitely helping.
Okay.
I hear from the contacts in Washington, D.C., they are impressed with the level of local stakeholder support that comes up to Washington every year and talks about the Corps and our projects and how they want us to do more projects in this area.
Thank you, guys. Great, thank you. And I'm sure both Ken and Eric are going to stay around for a few minutes if some of you have some additional follow-up questions for them. So please stay up here, guys. We have, on behalf of